Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive shift, how Indian agriculture is evolving from old-school traditional methods into a super resilient, sustainable, 21st century livelihood system. Now, we hear about agriculture all the time in the abstract, right? But today, we're getting grounded. We're looking at the actual mechanics of how farmers survive, adapt, and build profitable businesses in a world that is just constantly changing.
Okay, here's our agenda for today. 1. Foundations of agricultural livelihoods. 2. Diverse modern farming systems. 3. Integrated farming systems. 4. Value chains and economics. 5. Institutional support and schemes. And finally, 6. The future of sustainable farming.
Section 1. Foundations of Agricultural Livelihoods. So, what is an agricultural livelihood system, or ALS? Well, it's definitely not just throwing some seeds in the ground and hoping for the best. It's an entire framework. It's made up of capabilities, assets, and activities. And to really measure if a livelihood is resilient, you've got to look at 3 core indicators. You have economic indicators, like income stability, social indicators, like community empowerment, and environmental indicators, like soil health. Basically, these 3 pillars completely dictate whether a farming system actually survives over generations. And when we look across India's incredibly diverse regions, there is a stark contrast. Traditional farming, it's heavily focused on subsistence. It relies on really low inputs, which unfortunately leads to high vulnerability when climate shocks hit. But modern farming kind of flips the script. It focuses heavily on commercial viability, leveraging technology and diversified income streams to literally insulate the farmer from disaster.
Moving right along to Section 2, Diverse Modern Farming Systems.
So how exactly do modern farmers mitigate risk? Well, think of it like building a financial portfolio. If you put your entire life savings into one single stock, you're exposed, right? It's the same for a farmer. If they rely on just one single crop, say nothing but wheat or rice, they are incredibly vulnerable to market crashes or sudden pest outbreak or just bad weather. So how do they hedge their bets? Well, risk mitigation is basically the farmer's insurance policy. They use strategies like crop diversification and mixed cropping. Mixed cropping is where you grow 2 or more crops right together in the same field. So if one fails, the other one succeeds. Then they might add high-value fruits, vegetables, and spices. These are absolutely crucial for generating rural income, and they secure the urban food supply chain too. Oh, and agroforestry. That's blending trees with crops, giving the farmer long-term timber yields right alongside their seasonal harvests.
Section 3. Integrated farming systems.
Now, this brings us to the Integrated Farming System, or IFS. This is a brilliant, self-sustaining loop. The whole concept is synergy. By biologically linking up crops, livestock, poultry, and aquaculture, you massively enhance production. The biggest perk? You slash the cost of external fertilizers, because the waste of one enterprise literally becomes the input for another. The catch, though, is that there's a pretty steep learning curve to manage all these complex systems at the exact same time. A classic example of this is a piggery-cum-fish system. It sounds wild, but the pig waste safely fertilizes the aquaculture pond. That promotes plankton growth, which then feeds the fish, meaning no expensive fish feed to buy. Add in some dairy management for daily milk income and manure, plus some poultry farming for quick turnaround protein sales, and man, you have a total powerhouse of a rural enterprise. Just think about the sheer input-output efficiency here. Crop residue becomes feed for the livestock. Then, livestock manure goes back to fertilize the crops. And that nutrient-dense silt from the bottom of the fish pond? They dredge it up and put it on the fields to restore soil health. It is an absolute masterclass in operational efficiency, and it's a huge reason why these systems are the backbone of farmer livelihoods.
Okay, Section 4. Value chains and economics.
A supply value chain connects the dirt directly to your dining table. It starts with input supply, things like seeds and fertilizers. Then it moves through farm production and hits a massive turning point at value addition. That's taking something raw, like milk, and processing it into packaged cheese. Finally, it goes to market distribution. This entire chain is increasingly being driven by agri-entrepreneurship. Small startups are stepping into these processing and packaging roles, and it's drastically boosting rural profitability. In modern agriculture, this creates what we call a mixed circular economy. Instead of the old-school linear take, make, and dispose system, the circular economy aims to eliminate waste entirely. Resources are perpetually looped back into the farm. And honestly, this environmental win is also a massive economic advantage because it cuts overhead costs and maximizes the utility of literally every single resource on the property.
Section 5. Institutional support and schemes.
Of course, you can't scale modern livelihoods across diverse zones without some institutional heavy hitters. You have ICAR, the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, figuring out exactly which farming systems work in specific agroclimatic zones. Then NABARD steps in to fund and promote those commercial models. Add in dairy cooperatives for market access and collective bargaining, plus public-private partnerships to bring in agribusiness investment, and farmers finally get the backing they need.
But direct government intervention is just as crucial. Central government schemes like PM Kisan provide direct income support right to the farmer's bank account. Meanwhile, the National Rural Livelihood Mission, or NRLM, focuses on community empowerment and building up grassroots institutions. Together, they create a vital safety net so these farm-based enterprises can actually afford to take calculated risks.
Section 6. The future of sustainable farming.
With climate change throwing unpredictable monsoons, extreme heat, and shifting pests our way, traditional yields are under serious threat. So we've got to ask a really tough question. What does sustainability actually look like when the climate itself is no longer stable?
Well, the solution lies in a 21st century green economy approach. That means expanding organic farming, though we do have to carefully manage it to maintain high yields without synthetic inputs. It means adopting climate-resilient crop varieties, implementing sustainable agroforestry to capture carbon, and, absolutely crucial here, leveraging digitalization. Precision agriculture uses data to tell a farmer exactly how much water a single plant needs, down to the square meter. It's a total game changer. Because here's the thing, true sustainability in farming isn't just about environmental conservation. It is about building unbreakable economic resilience for the farmer. Think about it. Sustainability literally cannot exist if the farmer goes bankrupt. By integrating diverse enterprises and embracing the circular economy, we ensure a farmer's livelihood can withstand an environmental shock just as well as an economic one. As agri-entrepreneurship and tech continue to evolve at lightning speed, I want to leave you with one final thought. We have the models, we have the integrated systems and the institutional frameworks, but as climate pressures keep mounting, will tomorrow's highly integrated, digitalized farms be adopted fast enough to secure not just the farmer's livelihood, but the entire global food chain? Really think about that next time you sit down for a meal. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.